prioritizing what you want to get done and getting after it's important for everyone.
Welcome back to the Wild Business Growth Podcast. This is your place to hear from a new entrepreneur every single Wednesday morning who's turning wild ideas into wild growth. I'm your host, Max Branstetter, founder and podcast producer at Max Podcasting, and you can email me at max@maxpodcasting.com to save time with your high-quality podcast. This is episode 1146, and today's guest is Blake Sorensen. Blake is the founder of Blake's Seed Based, you guessed it, seed-based snack bar and treats company that has awesome, amazing recipes, allergen-free, kind of stemming from Blake's pretty strong nut allergy himself. And they have amazing flavors, they're growing and growing, and they have an awesome parrot. In this episode, we talked about growing Blake's Seed Base, the key decisions Blake has made himself, what he does to keep his mind clear and kind of make sure he's prioritizing things right. And, of course, his memories from being a stud linebacker on the Wisconsin football team, going into some of the most fierce road environments and some of the biggest and craziest stadiums in the entire world. It is Blake, and he is a slam dunk, or, as some would say, a perfect form tackle. Enjoy the show. Alrighty, we are here with Blake Sorensen, founder of Blake's Seed Based, and you probably know him from the Gridiron as well. Blake, thanks for joining. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Max. I appreciate you having me.
Of course. I think this is going to be the most challenging interview I've ever done because I want to just talk football the entire time, but we should probably talk about your business as well.
Yeah, we'll mix in a little bit of both.
Well, let's start there with football. I mean, very storied career at Wisconsin, a little taste of the pros as well. And anybody who is a Big Ten fan past decade knew you as really a stud linebacker. And me being a IU fan and also a Buckeye football fan growing up, you kind of terrorized my teams. So I might have to kick you off this interview. You end up going to grad school at IU, which is really cool. We'll get to that. But when you think of your time on the football field, what's the biggest lesson that you took from kind of that part of your life that you think translated really well to entrepreneurship?
I think a lot of it is just the work you put in, right? It's been going back to even high school. It's like years and years of, just being dedicated and, putting the work in day out and, might not show up for a while, but eventually, if you keep doing things the right way, the payoff will be there. And that's very similar to entrepreneurship, right? You're grinding away, and just kind of managing the ups and downs. But if you kind of just do things the right way, things usually work out.
Definitely. There's a routine and a real rhythm you get in. When I think back to my football career, which is pretty much the same sort of thing, same sort of awards, same opponents and everything. I always think to even in, just my high school football days, I think of the discipline that comes from it. I don't know. There's just something about football and training, the weightlifting side of things that just gives you that discipline for the rest of your life. So what was your personal favorite memory from your time at Wisconsin on the field?
This sounds like kind of a keen answer. I mean, there was always been some fun games, but a lot of it just goes back to your teammates. Still have, great relationships with those guys now, but, for 4 years, you're with those guys pretty much 24/7 and even the coaches too. So, my biggest takeaway, there was obviously certain fun games, like we beat Ohio State when they were number one. And
okay, take that back.
Yeah, but it had some good games, but a lot of it just goes back to the relationships that you form while you're there. And those really carry over when you're done playing as well.
I have chill. We'll ignore that game you mentioned, but I have chills just thinking about it. I mean, there's just something so special about Big Ten football and the big stadiums I have not yet gotten a chance to go to Camp Randall, but I know it's just a really special place, and everybody thinks to jump around, obviously. But as far as stadiums that you played on the road, what was the most staunch, intense, fiery atmosphere as a road player in the Big Ten?
Great question. So the two that stand out, and I grew up in Minneapolis, grew up a huge Big Ten fan. So, couldn't wait to eventually play in these stadiums. But one would be Iowa City. I mean, the fans are right on top of you. and you play like an afternoon or night game, that place gets rocking. So I think that's a very underrated stadium in the Big Ten, and a blast to play at. And then the other one would be Ohio State. We were lucky enough to play there when they had a whiteout. The stadium is like an erector set, just keeps going up. So, they have great fans in Happy Valley, and I'd say all the stadiums are fun to play in, but those are two I think of my favorite.
In the Iowa one, all you hear about is the pink locker room. What was that like?
Yeah. What's funny is we were, you're warned about it, but we had like our equipment staff ended up putting like newspaper like all over the walls and kind of just blocking it out. But yeah, I think that goes back to one of their old coaches, Hayden Fry, who was like a psychology major, and the color pink, and he learned like calms people. So it was kind of funny, right? You kind of get used to it, but like I'm talking everything in that locker room's pink, like down to the bathroom walls, the toilets. I think even the toilet paper. It's like no stone is unturned. Everything's pink.
That's incredible. I've heard about the pink, but I did not hear about the means that teams and staff would go through, like putting up newspapers everywhere. That's incredible. That had to be a ton of newspapers. You mentioned growing up and being so excited and eager to maybe get a chance to play at these stadiums one day, and you obviously made that a reality. Like once you got to the Big Ten life and playing in these games, I mean, upsetting, I'm not going to say which team it was, but upsetting a team that was number one in the nation, like what was the biggest thing about playing at that stage that really caught you by surprise?
I think when you first get there, it's just every transition is just the caliber of, athletes and how big and fast and strong everyone is. So I think that's kind of the initial jump. And, as you get older, you would adjust to it, but there's a monster jump going from high school to the pro or to college, and then same thing from college to the pros. So it's just kind of adjusting to the speed of the game and, the schemes and all that stuff.
I can't even imagine, because each level is like the all-stars of the all-stars of the next level. Let's get to the pros of business, which did not sound corny at all. But we'll get to your business career. Something really, really cool about your background, and something we actually have in common is, going to school at IU. So you end up going to grad school at IU's Kelley School of Business. And we have a mutual professor that we both love, and Greg Fisher. So shout out Professor Greg Fisher. Awesome guy. I know he's helped out a lot with your business. What was going through your mind kind of after you're kind of wrapping up your football career, looking at what to do next? How did you decide on going to IU, and how did you decide on kind of going into the entrepreneurship class space?
Yeah, so I finished up playing in 2011. Didn't really know what I was going to do, but after I graduated, I was lucky enough to get a job with a Wisconsin entrepreneur named Kenny Dichter, who's runs Wheels Up right now. But I was lucky enough to work for a few of Kenny's companies and get exposed to the kind of the life of startups and entrepreneurship. And I really didn't know anything about it. But from 2011 to 2014, 15, worked for a few different companies, understood that, and kind of got a bug in my brain that, man, this stuff is really fun. And I'd love to start a company of my own one day, but there's still some things I really need to learn and kind of hone my skill set. So I got serious around that time frame of, looking at graduate schools, and Indiana stood out. And, I was in Chicago at the time, knew I wanted to come back to Chicago eventually. So looked at schools in the Big Ten. And Indiana just, felt like it was a great all-around school for me. And my kind of goals going in were to things like finance and operations and all these other things, just round myself out to someday, eventually start a company. I didn't anticipate doing it while I was in school, but I went in with kind of two hats. I wanted to learn about entrepreneurship. And then I also went in kind of doing the traditional like management consulting route, which ended up kind of turning down at the end. But yeah, really going back to school for me was just to kind of hone my skill set and make sure I was prepared for entrepreneurship life when I came out.
And Bloomington's a really special place, and it's amazing. There's so many ties to Chicago and people from Chicago as well. So it's kind of like you have such a great alumni base there. So you mentioned getting into being curious about entrepreneurship, but not knowing too much about it. When did you start to get this idea around, hey, I could I could create my own line, actually a food brand, my own product out of this?
it was in a social entrepreneurship course in 2017. And basically throughout the course, it was a 14-week course, and you had to solve a need in the kind of social entrepreneurship realm. And at the end of the course, you had to have a built website and you had to have a prototype. The class was everyone kind of pitched their own idea. You would kind of build teams within the class and kind of go attack that idea. And I remember driving back from Chicago to Indiana and stopping at a gas station when this class was going on at the beginning. We were trying to come up with an idea and walking down the nutrition bar set. Like I just wanted something healthy on the go. Couldn't find anything. It was like, there's nothing, I can't eat anything in this set. And it was out of frustration. And it was kind of the perfect time when I was in the class where kind of a light bulb went up and said, hey, why don't I just start creating these things on my own?
There's something so magical about those light bulb moments. Did it feel like a good fit, something you wanted to pursue right away?
It felt pretty natural. I mean, always gravitated towards, healthy foods. My mom's a dietitian, so I grew up eating, fairly healthy.
That probably helps on the diet side.
Yeah, so that helps. I think building a brand is something that I also enjoy doing. I kind of knew what I did, like just kind of being a consumer. I know what type of brands I kind of gravitated towards and which ones turn me off. So I think that, was really exciting. And I think from the second I got that idea, it's been full on kind of sprint. And it's, just kind of taken one step at a time, but it's on my mind pretty much all the time.
So what were those early steps or the first few strides of the sprint, just to work some sports alliteration in there?
So the first step was, I'm not a chef. I don't know how to make any of these things. So the first step was literally going to buy a food processor in downtown Bloomington and then going to the grocery store and kind of getting some different ingredients and just making stuff that didn't have nuts in it and was healthy and tasted good and bringing tubs of classmates and having people try them out. Pretty humble beginnings, go really from there, fast forward the end of the class, we had a little website, we had some prototypes, but from there it's like, all right, if we want to do this, I have to make these in an allergen-free facility. I have to do a production run and it's going to cost money that I didn't have. Greg Fisher, this is when Greg Fisher was really instrumental. Greg said, well, why don't you do a Kickstarter? If people want this product, they'll, show you with their dollars and they'll pre-order it on Kickstarter. So it went from class project to then, finding some undergrad students at Indiana to help make me a Kickstarter video. And we launched the video and the minimum production run was $20,000. And the first day we raised $20,000 on Kickstarter.
Damn.
An incredible moment. That's where I was like, all right, it's not just a little class project. Like there's a demand for this product. Let's see where this goes. Let's keep taking the next step.
Well, at that point, you've achieved the impossible, which is to get paid for a class project at the time. So that's pretty cool. What was it about your Kickstarter campaign that you think made it work so well?
It goes back to we're solving a need, right? I think a lot of businesses, at least startups, sometimes they're all over the place, but it goes back to we have an authentic story. We're solving a need. And there's a lot of other people that have, the same problem that I did, that have different food allergies, can't eat certain snacks. So I think it really went back to that. And it was very organic. I mean, some people spend a ton of money and use PR and kind of really spread the word with these things. And mine was pretty simple, as kind of putting it on LinkedIn and Facebook, and it kind of just took off from there.
And you mentioned the allergy side of things. Can you shed a little light on kind of why the allergies that you had growing up and why this is kind of such, a personal project and business for you?
Yeah, so I have a nut allergy enough where, if I have a nut, it's happened numerous times by accident, throat swells shut, have to use an EpiPen, go to the hospital. So it's a serious thing, which I kind of just adapted to. And, you go to certain restaurants and you have to let them know, and which foods you can avoid. It always comes up, obviously, in different snacks and the things I couldn't eat. So it's personal because I'm solving my own problem. But I think one of the things, again, I've realized throughout this is there's, 32 million people in the US that have food allergies. And it's not just that. It's I grew up in a family of 6 because I couldn't eat nuts. We really couldn't have them in the house. You look at schools, offices, it's one person, if they have a different dietary restriction or a food allergy, it kind of affects everyone else. So our goal is to kind of just make products that are healthy, taste good, and free of the major food allergens. And all that means is everyone, almost everyone can eat them.
It's such a a good mission behind it, and it's crazy. I mean, to your stats, there's such a large number of people that have allergies. My brother Andrew, shout out Andrew, has a nut allergy himself, so I kind of grew up with that, and we always made sure to not make sure he never has Reese's cups or anything like that. That's actually what kind of kicked it off for him in the first place. But it's a really strong thing, and I think that the less you have to worry about when choosing food options, the better it is for more people. So really, really cool mission behind it. How do you kind of hold your production and marketing to those standards to be extra clear that, hey, we're kind of checking all these boxes and this stuff truly is allergen free?
Yeah, well, it's everything, right? It's our promise, and it's not, lip service from the production side or packaging, right? I'm eating these products all the time, and as are other people, if there are allergens in it, we don't have a business anymore. So when we go to every length possible, we made it in a certified, nut-free and gluten-free facility, which means it's, stringent enough as there can be no nuts in the facility. Every line is tested, every batch of product is tested. And, I'm there for a bunch of those production runs, overseeing everything. We have a great partner. And then, because we have the confidence in the back end to make those products, that's where we have the confidence on the marketing side to kind of come out and say, hey, listen, we're can be 100% sure we're, free of these allergens. And, we can stand by that.
And the testing is everything. And this testing is, you think you get done with school and you're done taking tests, but it's kind of your full-time job now. What about testing in terms of which of the actual ingredients you use? Like, what did it look like when you're deciding, all right, we're going to include this, and this seed and these ingredients?
Yeah, early on, I mean, the recipe has really evolved. From day one, we knew that like seeds were going to be a major component of it. Obviously can't eat nuts, so gravitated towards seeds growing up. So that's the one thing that's been constant. It's been kind of the other things. Our original recipe had some dates in it, and some other things that we kind of quickly learned and pivoted from. But it's really evolved to, all right, how do we make the healthiest, best tasting product? And we know we can't have the allergens, but it really goes back to, it has to be a great product at the end of the day that people like, right? And tastes good. And, there's other factors like shelf life and cost, and there's a lot of other things that go into it, but it's really been trial and error. But from our Kickstarter campaign to where we're at now, our bar line has really evolved, and gotten to a point where we're really happy about it.
And how are you getting feedback on like what's working and what's not? I mean, you mentioned the early days of like literally making batches for people in your class, which kind of wish I was in your class because that would be very fun and tasty. But how are you getting feedback these days on what's working?
Yeah, so I went from, individual feedback, Kickstarter feedback. We sent a bunch of surveys out and got pretty blunt feedback on certain flavors and textures and things like that. And same thing we're doing now. It's even things like reading all of our Amazon reviews. Is there a constant theme, good or bad, on those? Doing surveys with our customers, calling our top customers. What flavors do you want to see? What would you improve? What do you like better? So it's a constant thing. And the other huge part of it is, like before COVID, at shows, we did every sampling event we would do. So, after handing out hundreds and hundreds of bars and having people, right in front of you tell you their feedback, you learn pretty quick.
There's nothing like that feedback. Like any entrepreneur, you're so close to your business that it really takes that outside perspective to, get a pulse of the people and be like, okay, what's working, what's not.
Yeah, it's everything, right? It's regardless of what I think about the product, again, I'm kind of solving my own problem, but this isn't about me. We don't have a company or, a business if, no one likes the product, but I do. It's about listening to people and, adapting and taking, critical feedback well and, making things better.
And in terms of what it looks like for people, like when they actually go in store or buy this online, you have awesome packaging. I think it's bright, it's vibrant, it's got a great vibe to it. How did kind of the branding and how the product actually look side of things, that rolls off the tongue, how did that shape out?
So very similar to kind of the evolution of the actual product and ingredients, but our packaging started out, very humbly. We had one of my classmates made, the first packaging on, Microsoft Paint. And that's what we launched with. And the brand was called Blake's Nut Free then. And, it really just came from feedback. It went from, then the brand was called Blake's Nut Free. And the learning was people want to know what's in the product. They don't want to know what's not in the product. So it's like emphasizing seeds. Packaging, I think one thing that stayed constant is I always wanted, the kind of the white packaging to make it clean. But where it's evolved to now is our snack bar line. People wanted to see what's in the product, and a lot of bars are kind of mushy stuff that's kind of stuck together. And we feel like, we have a pretty looking product, and we want to show off our ingredients. So we have a window in our bars now where we show those off. But the truth is, every time we do run a production line, we do in-house design now. Bell on our team does that, and we're always tinkering and changing little things to kind of make it better.
That's an amazing insight that people don't want to know what's not in it. They want to know what's in it, which really makes sense. I mean, you can apply that to a lot of different categories there.
Yeah, and I kind of give the example, like I can eat gluten. So if you give me a cup, regular cupcake or a gluten-free cupcake, I'm going to assume that the regular cupcake tastes better. I'm not saying that's the case, but it's like, it's kind of a hierarchy, right? Of like, if people walk down the aisle at, Sprouts or a major retailer we're at, we want to emphasize, hey, this is a great product. There's seeds and fruit, seeds and chocolate, it's low sugar. Oh, and if you care, it's also free of the major allergens. And if you kind of flip that, if you scream, we're allergen free, allergen free, allergen free, you can turn off some consumers. So it's this delicate balance that we try to, kind of play with to hit all the different consumers we can.
Yeah, it's really tricky. And like something as simple as like the product description or definite what it is can make a huge difference in the mind of the consumer who's seeing so many different products competing with each other in like a 2 square foot space. And also on the branding note, I love your bird, which I don't think I've ever said to anybody before.
Yeah.
But is it a parrot or macaw? What's the official kind of the icon there?
So it's a parrot, and it goes back to I'm a big Jimmy Buffett fan. Big fan of his music and just his lifestyle. The guy just like plays music and flies and boats, and he's the man. So yeah, so they called, his fans parrot heads, and, kind of we were thinking up something that we wanted to kind of put, as kind of the brand logo that came to mind. The parrots evolved a little bit as we've grown, but, people go nuts about the parrot. We have like a hat that we sell a ton of. It just has the parrot on it. And, it has the meaning to Jimmy Buffett and also kind of the fun, vibrant colors. Parrots also eat seeds. So that's, a component, but people really gravitate towards the parrot.
Oh my God, that's an amazing fit there. You did mention go nuts, so technically they don't go nuts, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to have a nice snack when thinking about like a tropical vibes, tropical location? So I dig that. It's cool. It's got the personal tie too. When you think about your journey with Blake Seed Base so far, besides kind of the past year and all the challenges there, because that's kind of like the easy answer, what would you say has been the most challenging thing that you've had to overcome so far?
I think a lot of it is just prioritizing. I mean, we're a lean team. We just, as of this week, we have 3 full-time people. Before that, we had 2. So the most challenging thing is you're juggling everything, right? You're doing the accounting and marketing and selling and all this stuff, and it's just kind of learning what to really focus on and what matters and what will move the business forward, and kind of ignoring the fluff. And I think I've gotten a lot better at that this last year, especially. But that's kind of the constant battle is like, you could spend time on every part of the business, but you have to kind of take a step back and say, what will really propel us forward and what's the right thing to do right now?
That's such a challenge. It's a good problem to have when you're kind of like that busy and growing in that way. That's something I'm seeing with my podcast production business is kind of getting to that point of needing more help and realizing that you can't do everything yourself, even though you do wear so many hats. What's been helpful for you as far as, getting multiple, full-time hires, growing your team like that?
A lot of it has been like doing things at first, like by myself, and like entrepreneurship a lot is about understanding like your strengths and weaknesses and being honest about that. So for example, like operation and certain things of like, hey, probably not my strong suit. Like I need to go find someone for this. Right. But you try it by yourself first. If you're able to do it and understand like what type of person you would want it to fill that role, I think that helps a lot. So that's what we've been able to do. We have 3 full-time people. We have a number of part-time people that help us with different things. And It's just understanding, hey, what are our needs in the business right now, and what is everyone's skill set, mine included.
And that's a big factor in growth. And obviously, when you get more people on board, you can do a lot more overall. When you think about where Blake Seed Base is today and how it got there, what would you say has been the number one driver overall in your growth?
A lot of it goes back to, food and beverage. You have to have a good product, and you have to solve a problem. Our product does that, right? At the end of the day, the product kind of has to speak for itself, but I'd say you have to have a good product. And then, I'd say as like really an entrepreneur, you just have to take kind of massive action. You got to really act on things and move forward. If you don't do things, or you aren't providing direction, nothing gets done. Definitely in a stage where it's, constantly go, go, go. And also, I think being naive into like what's going on in the industry, like definitely understand the industry now, but if you kind of knew what you're getting into at the beginning of it, I think it would have been a lot tougher. So
yeah, there's so much beauty in the naive. There is beauty in the naive in the podcasting industry as well. If you are thinking about a podcast for your business, for your brand, but you have a lot of questions or concerns over how much time it might take, email me at max@maxpodcasting.com. I will help you create that high-quality podcast you deserve and save a ton of time off your plate while you are doing it. Email me at max@maxpodcasting.com to save time with your high-quality podcast. Now, back to Blake and what he does off the gridiron of business. Let's switch it up a little bit. Let's get to inspiration and creativity. You mentioned it's been full speed ahead, like full go, fast 40-time sprints since the light bulb moment that you first had. I'm sure that, at some point you've kind of, had weeks where you just sort of like, oh, I just need to take a break, or you need to do something to clear your head and free your mind a little bit. What helps you to kind of blow off steam and keep that creativity going without getting burned out?
I think it's all about balance, and it's, sometimes it can be tough, but a lot of it just kind of goes to try to be living a healthy lifestyle, right? Just even little things is like going on a run, or, doing a little yoga session, or, live in Chicago. So going and jumping in Lake Michigan, something like that, to kind of get away for a little bit, and kind of step away from the business, even if it's for a half hour or half a day or whatever it may be. Helps kind of refresh you and helps you kind of think about things a different way.
What does your running or workout regimen look like now compared to how it was in the D1 days?
It's changed quite a bit. So obviously in college, they have you like lifting heavy weight, kind of in that meathead lifestyle. And yeah, no, for sure. It's just, like meathead 101. So I went from that, and then I got into like a kind of a endurance phase, is doing some marathons and did an Ironman. And now it's more of just kind of do some yoga and, light lifting and light cardio, but just trying to eat healthy and work out, 4 or 5 times a week when I can.
You read my mind. I was going to ask your frequency for it, but I guess I'll go in a slightly different direction. When is the time of day that is best for you to work out?
If I don't work out in the morning, it's like pretty easy for the day to get busy and kind of make excuses. So my very best days is wake up, immediate workout, and then kind of jumping into the day. And, if I do it knocked out the workout, I think better, I feel better. So that's, kind of the optimal way to do it for me, but I know everyone's different.
Yeah, I feel that. I used to be a same sort of thing, like 4 or 5 days after work person. But then it's kind of breathing down your neck all day. Exactly to your point. If your day starts to get crazy and then like you're working late on something, like there goes your workout. You're not working out that day. So I'm with you. The morning workouts, it's an awesome way to start the day.
I'm a big believer too, just like the hardest things. It's like knocking out the biggest things in the morning, even like work wise. Like the longer the day goes on, it's like almost decision fatigue, and your brain becomes mush at the end of the day. So for
Right.
me, it's like do the important things, like both work wise and kind of health wise early on to set yourself up.
We got meathead and mush brain references. This is great.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think knocking out the hardest stuff early in the day, as long as you get enough sleep, like you're usually most fresh in the morning.
Right.
The same thing kind of works on a larger scale. If you look at your week, I saw some entrepreneur a long time ago mentioned that they always try to knock out the hardest things on Monday.
Yep.
I love that approach as well, because you knock out the harder things earlier in the week, then it's kind of more smooth sailing the rest of the week, and you don't have that like thing that you're procrastinating or that's weighing over your head that you have to do like last minute Friday. I can totally get behind that. What else do you like to do in your free time when you carve out free time?
Trying to be as active as I can. I like to like the summer. I like to go skiing and everything. Just be on the water as much as I can. Try to get to Colorado quite a bit. I have a brother who lives in Colorado, so we'll get out there and fish and ski and do everything we can out there. And I think a lot of it's just trying to be active when I can. If it's not work, want to kind of be with people I enjoy being with, and it's usually doing something active.
By skiing, are you referring to water skiing?
Water skiing, yeah.
Very cool. That threw me off at first. You're like summer skiing. I'm like, interesting, very interesting approach. How'd you get into water skiing?
So I grew up in Minneapolis, and there's a ton of lakes, as everyone knows, up there. So I grew up slalom skiing.
10,000 or whatever.
Yeah, grew up doing it then, and now it's become a huge hobby of mine that try to get out at least once or twice a week during the summer on Lake Michigan.
I admire you, because I'm sure that's one of those things that you and people who do it regularly make it look easy, but is certainly not easy. I'm sure. I mean, I tried paddleboarding once, and it looked so easy to balance, and it was like one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Yeah, it's like kind of like anything. You just got to get used to it a little bit, and then you'll figure it out. But I think sometimes for beginners it can be tough.
Definitely. And I want to show some more love to Greg Fisher, because it's really cool. We had the same professor and different. I mean, I had him in undergrad, but I know he was helping a lot out with grad school at the time as well. And just a really insightful, super helpful person. Can you share a little bit on kind of what Greg Fisher has meant to you and bringing this business product to life?
Yeah, I mean, he was really the catapult from helping me take it from a class project to really making it real. And the big thing is he just showed kind of faith in me and encouraged me, where, everyone else, other grad students looking for another job. And he really kind of took me under his wing and helped me think about things and say, hey, if you want to take it to the next step, here's some things we could do. And again, he was instrumental in coming up with, hey, you should look at Kickstarter. And then from there, has been to our facility before and helped us, taste test product, and just been someone that not only is a great professor, but he's been involved in the real world, great business mind. And he's just a nice guy that just gets it. You can talk about anything with Greg, business, non-business. He's been, an awesome mentor. And I'm super lucky that, and call him a friend and an advisor.
Yeah, he's the man. And I've so many great memories from his class. I had his class my final semester of college. So it's kind of like, a lot of people kind of have that out the door mindset. And he was able to take a bunch of second semester seniors, keep them engaged, which I think is a talent in itself. And in terms of taste testing, how frequently do you taste test these days? Like you personally?
I'm trying stuff all the time. My desk, this is just a bunch of foil wrappers with different products, even just new product lines, different flavors. So yeah, every few weeks we're trying new products, flavors, tweaking stuff. Yeah, it's a constant thing. And you have to do that, right? You have to evolve, and we're trying to show that we're more. Right now, we have snack bars and Rice Krispie treats. We have a ton of other ideas for different product lines, so that keeps us pretty busy from the taste testing side.
That's like the best part, the silver lining. Like every foodpreneur I talk to, I always am like, man, really, everyone should come up with a food product, because then you just taste test like so much as part of your job, and it's like it's research, market research.
Yeah, you got to be careful. Yesterday, we had we met with one of our investors and a few other people, and we had a big taste test session in the afternoon. So you have to be careful. I was like, didn't eat breakfast or lunch yesterday because I knew I was going to consume way too many calories in the afternoon trying stuff.
Then you might have to do a 2-a-day workout.
Right.
Speaking of wild amounts of food, let's get to the fan favorite segment called Wild Business Shout Out of the Week.
The Wild Business Shout Out of the Week!
Wild business shout out of the week. This is where we talk about a creative marketing approach or a brand that really cuts through the clutter well. There's a pretty cool one you want to cover. You mind sharing what that brand is and kind of why you like them so much?
The one that stands out for me, I admire companies that really put the brand first and the product second. And Yeti is the one that really always admired. And, specifically they have, a YouTube series of covering people with these amazing stories. They cover of their life and different things they do and the activities, and, the coolers and the other Yeti products are really secondary. And I think to create a really memorable brand, it has to be more than just a product, right? It has to give people kind of a feeling, and kind of move you in some way. And that's one brand that I think it's just a cooler, right? But it's so much more than that. Like the name Yeti, you think of backpacking or just doing these outdoor things, and it's become such a powerful brand because, they've helped educate people that, it's more than just a cooler. It's kind of what you do with it.
Yeah, it goes way beyond the brand, and they have something for everybody. Like they keep coming out with new really cool stuff. Like shout out my cousin Sam, her husband Matt, who for their dog Ollie, they have like a Yeti water bowl, like drinking bowl.
I've seen those.
Yeah, like I know they've got, there's like everything from tumblers to obviously the coolers that kind of help them get their name out. But it's so strong when you see a brand that there's much more to it than just the brand name or the product. When were you kind of first exposed to Yeti or first had their product? Do you remember?
I don't know, probably 5-ish years ago, maybe more. But I exposed to the coolers first. Now, like all my drinkware, even having a glass of water or coffee, whatever, I'm having in Yeti cups, and it's just kind of keeps creeping into my life.
You need to be like a brand ambassador for him.
I know.
The Blake brand ambassador. You got it.
I would love that.
Let's get a bit more unusual. So let's get to Yeti. No, I'm just kidding. Let's talk about pet peeves, quirks, weird talents. We'll start with quirks. What's something a little quirky about your personality that maybe friends or family, your teammates, somebody calls you out for? It's who you are.
I think I walk really fast. I think I get called out for that quite a bit. I think, I tend to be, I'm not a very patient person. Something I'm working on. So that's like, gonna walk, let's get somewhere. But usually if I'm walking with people, they're like, can we slow down? So yeah, that I'd say that's the most common one I get called out for most often.
You're probably like, God, well, this guy just like spit out the damn questions already. No, but that's great. I would say a common pet peeve for people is slow walkers. So you don't have that problem. So that's good.
Yeah, right. It's better than that, maybe.
Yeah. What would you say is a big pet peeve of yours?
Kind of goes to the impatience, but I think like people that like pander or go all over the place, like kind of just not communicating great, like not like getting to the point. Just communication style. I'd rather kind of be direct and understand things. And I don't know, the business we're in, there's a lot of jargon and consultants and this or that. End of the day, you want to like clearly understand things and just get to the point communication wise. So kind of goes back to the impatient components, but yeah, just clearly articulating things.
Back to like a marketing perspective, it can work wonders. Like if just the words seed-based and just those two words are so descriptive, and that obviously came from an insight. And then weird talents. So this could be, it's kind of party tricks as well, but what's something you're really good at, like you just have a knack for, but it doesn't really impact your business at all?
So this is kind of out of left field, but I can stay in a sauna, I think, much longer than normal person.
There you go.
Big fan of saunas, but I think my sauna threshold, my heat threshold is higher than normal.
Interesting. What do you think causes that?
I don't know. I mean, I probably I've taken quite a bit, but usually if we get new people on the sauna, I'm outlast them. Again, that's out of a left field one, but yeah.
I'm
different.
all for left field. Love left field. Does that apply to like desert environments and kind of like hot locations if you're visiting somewhere as well?
I wish, like when I'm outside, if it's like sunny, I usually like long sleeve, hood up, sunglasses, hat. So that's only the sauna. Outside of that, I'm not like a huge heat outside sun beating person.
Interesting. You're the sauna Superman.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap up with some rapid fire Q&A. You ready for it?
Yep.
All right, let's get wild. I'm going to ask these slow just to piss you. No, I'm just kidding. What would you say is your personal favorite seed to eat?
Pumpkin seeds.
Oh, okay. Those same thing as pepitas, right?
I like the white ones actually. So like David's has these like
Oh
roasted
yeah.
sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds, excuse me, that are like white. And yeah, big fan of those.
What is a Jimmy Buffett song that you would listen to on repeat 24/7?
I'd say Pirate Looks at 40. That's a solid one.
Who's someone that you're most proud of tackling?
They played against a lot of good players. When I don't know if this is kind of a throwback, but remember like Beanie Wells, right? It was like Ohio State
Yeah.
running back. He was
a big man.
yeah, he was a very big man. Like him and like Le'Veon Bell was at Michigan State when I was there. So some definitely good players that are still playing today that were fun to play against.
Was there anybody that trucked you? I know you're not a fan of admitting it, but
Oh yeah, I mean, it's gonna happen, right? I think I'm sure those guys probably did too. Like Sean Green in Iowa is another good running back. We had some good running backs on our team, like John Clay and some these bigger guys that they'll definitely get you once in a while.
oh yeah, there's so many big running backs in the Big Ten. Well, I think about Wisconsin. Wisconsin's always got a big back too. Speaking of Wisconsin, I've always heard such amazing things about Madison. What was your favorite part about Madison?
It's just such a fun campus. I mean, it's right in the lake. It's a huge student body, but just the culture at Madison it's like you have really smart students there, but everyone's there to kind of enjoy themselves and have fun. No one takes themselves too serious. So it's really the whole kind of like aura that Madison puts out. It's the capital, great athletics teams, great academics, and it's kind of that whole combination that just makes it a fun place to be.
Yeah, it seems like it. And on the flip side of that, I know it can get frigid cold there in the winter. What's your best tip for kind of surviving the Wisconsin cold?
I think you can never complain about the weather. You guys gotta dress for it. So you just gotta bundle up, put some coats on, get the right hat, boots, or gloves, and kind of just dress for it. Weather, it's gonna happen. Obviously, living in the Midwest, but if you put enough bundles on, you'll be warm enough, and you can do anything you want.
But were you one of the football players that in freezing cold would play in short sleeves?
Yeah. You can't wear long sleeves. I think in the Big Ten is a certain positions you just can't. You can't wear long sleeves.
That's words to live by.
Yeah, like I don't know, kind of the front seven. So never in a game, at least, never wore long sleeves.
That's awesome. Well, I will. I'm rolling my sleeves up as we speak. You got me fired up. But Blake, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much. Really cool talking about how you're building your brand, and I'm gonna go out and buy some because I'm craving them now. But cool reminiscing about the Big Ten memory lane as well, and very storied career there. So thanks again. Really appreciate you coming on. Where's the best place for people to connect with you as well as to try out some of your products?
Our products, blakeseedbase.com. So we're on our website. We're also on Amazon. Just type in the brand name Blake's Seed Base, and then kind of following us. You want to follow the company, I'd say our Instagram is the best way to follow. Blake's Seed Base is our handle. And then, personal, I'd say I'm probably the most active on LinkedIn. So if you want to connect there, that's probably the best place to get me.
Perfect. And last thing here, final thoughts. It could be a quote, whether it's a pregame quote or just kind of, words you like to live by. Send us home here.
Life's pretty short, so you got to kind of go out and do the things you want to do. And if you have goals, go tackle them. I think that's important, right? You got a lot of people that kind of stream by or, put things off. But I think prioritizing what you want to get done and getting after it's important for everyone.
Go tackle. The best advice from your entrepreneur linebacker, Blake Sorensen. Thank you so much, Blake, for sharing your tips, your advice, all the things that you've had to tackle so far, and so many entrepreneurs out there need to tackle themselves. And thank you, wild listeners, for tuning into another episode. If you want to hear more wild stories like this one, make sure to follow the Wild Business Growth Podcast on your favorite app and tell a friend about the podcast. You can also find us on Good Pods, where you can check out the podcast yours truly is listening to, and other cool people as well. And for help with podcast production, you can learn more at maxpodcasting.com. Until next time, let your business run wild.
Bring on the bongos!